Andrea, bringing you commentary you can use. So you all know right here on the channel, I try to cover stories that may or may not necessarily be headline news. This one particular story I came upon, I have to admit, I haven't seen it on the front page of many news sources. But as I was reading into it, seeing what was going on, I became very concerned for several different reasons, and I'm going to share them with you. But before I get started, I want to say thank you again for supporting the channel, subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate you. Okay. All right. So this information comes from NBC News. Again, this information comes from NBC News. And the title of the article says rail workers, okay, those who operate the trains, the rail system, says rail workers push to strike. Okay, here's why they're angry. The caption says freight train drivers who direct 20 billion tons of goods per year have threatened to walk off the job. Okay, now listen to this story, y'all. Please make sure that you like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. If you do choose to subscribe, which I hope you do, make sure you hit all notifications. That way, whenever I go live like I am now, or if I upload new videos each week, you will be notified. So listen to this story, y'all. This came out July 19th. And according to the article, again, this is from NBC News. It says freight train workers are fed up. Okay, let me tell you why. The article says that one conductor, now listen to this, y'all. One conductor said he nearly missed his wife's funeral because he couldn't get time off. Now think about that, y'all. One conductor said he nearly missed his wife's funeral because he couldn't get time off. The article also goes on to say that an engineer said he was put on a disciplinary path after having to stay home to fix a broken water heater. Other freight train workers blamed the industry's on-call, 24/7 scheduling requirements for health problems and divorces, a lifestyle they said had turned one of the best paying blue-collar jobs in the country into one marred by misery and neglect. Now, what do y'all think about that, y'all? Before I even read any further, what are your thoughts on hearing this? The fact that, according to the article, that one of the conductors, the train conductor, he almost missed his wife's funeral because he couldn't get time off. What do you mean he couldn't get time off to, grieve and take care of things surrounding his wife's funeral? Why would that even be a question? Having to stay home and fix a broken water heater, that's something that, would definitely need immediate attention. Why would that be a question? So let me keep reading. Very concerning story so far, right? The article says after years of cutbacks and service tumult, the country's freight rail workers are pushing to strike, okay, which would further clog supply chain networks and amp up political heat on a White House already under the microscope for economic woes. Now, you all know right here on the channel, and even on other channels, maybe on news channels that you watch, we all know what's going on in our country. We're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with a lot of things, and for a lot of people, it's causing extra burden, extra stress, a lot of different emotions about the times that are going on now. And I just recently did a video where I was talking about how truck drivers are protesting in California right now over what they call the gig worker law, which they feel like are going to cut their wages. So a lot of people are very frustrated, fed up over many different reasons. And it just so happens that many of these people, the stories that are being highlighted, they're responsible for, their role or their job is responsible for a big part of keeping our country running, which is the transportation shipping industry. So let me keep reading. Now, NBC News, no, I'm sorry, let me go back. It says after years of cutbacks and service tumult, the country's freight rail workers are pushing to strike, which could further clog supply chain networks and amp up political heat on a White House already under the microscope for economic woes. Now, right here on the channel, I've talked about the supply chain crisis since last year, and I was even talking to you about it at a time when no one else was really talking about it. So make sure you check out my videos on the supply chain crisis, as well as where I talked about the truck drivers who were protesting. I'll post a link so you can check those videos out, and it'll be towards the end of this video. Okay. Now, the article says the Biden administration said Friday, okay, which is today, that it will appoint a 3-person commission to stave off what would be the first strike by freight rail workers in 30 years. Okay, so the White House is saying they're going to intervene, put someone in place, a 3-person staff, 3-person commission in place to help what they say stave off what would be the first strike by freight rail workers, in 30 years. Okay, rail companies say that they are offering salary increases to help keep their workers among the highest paid and working on making their systems more consistent. Okay, but is that simply enough? Raising wages, but at the same time treating your people unfairly, or causing them undue stress, giving them a tough time, denying time off when you know they need to have the time off. Is that a real solution, or is that just putting a Band-Aid on a wound that needs more done to it to really help it truly heal from whatever condition is making it not do what it should do? Okay. The article also says the NBC News talked to more than 10 current and former workers about the conditions on the rails. All of the current workers, the article says, say that they support a stoppage. Okay, here's one quote by a conductor with Union Pacific in the Midwest, who said the company keeps making working conditions worse. Okay, and this person also asked that their name be withheld for fear, I guess, of some type of reprisal, retaliation. I don't know. They were also quoted saying they're making billions per quarter, and they're only paying those dividends out to shareholders. Okay, when it's the workers who are moving freight and making sure this country keeps the supply chain moving. That's what I was saying. They're responsible. They have a great deal of responsibility to help keep our country running. So why is it that these people, their working conditions are not, why are their working conditions getting worse? Why are they being given a hard time about taking time off? They still, at the end of the day, even though they have this great, responsibility to help keep our country moving, the supply chain moving, at the end of the day, they're still humans. They still have families. So, I don't understand what's really going on with that. Okay. Thank you all so much. Those who are watching now live, or if you're watching by replay, thank you. Make sure that you like this video. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the topic. And if you have any insight on this topic, please make sure that you share in the comments. Okay, so I'm here asking the question, could a rail strike be coming? Okay, now the Presidential Commission, the article says, will formally pause the bitter negotiations between workers, their unions, and the companies, and prevent workers from striking until September. Okay, the White House's hand was forced after the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen Union, which is leading a coalition of 10 rail unions in negotiations, voted last Tuesday by more than 99%, about 11,000 votes, to authorize a strike. Okay, so what do you all feel about that? Okay, the White House being able to come in and pause the negotiations. Okay, let's see. Okay. According to the article, the movement caps years of tensions on the freight rails that reached a peak during the pandemic. Workers who support a system that moves some 20 billion tons of goods a year, roughly 40% of long-distance goods transported in the U.S., complain that the rail companies are enhancing their profits by cutting labor costs to the bone and raising prices, even as service has suffered. Okay. The years-long implementation of a technological system called, and I quote, the Precision Scheduled Railroading, has allowed railroads to run longer trains with less workers, helping drive handsome profits in recent years, the article says. Okay. And then the article also goes on to talk about several different things. It says more with less, the current and recent freight rail workers, who included conductors, engineers, yard masters, dispatchers, said in interviews that challenging work conditions have deteriorated even further during the pandemic. You got to think a lot of these people, they still had to work through the pandemic, as well as others in the shipping transportation industry. And a lot of people, they're saying that, the companies profited from it, but, the individual workers, their treatment, their workload, their work conditions didn't necessarily improve as well. So that's what, they're pretty much saying. They said that, the article says, they said that's because companies like BNSF, one of the nation's largest rail companies, instituted rigid scheduling requirements that leave workers on call nearly 24/7 every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, every day of the year, as labor shortages have challenged the industry. Imagine that, y'all. And it says, and their wages haven't gone up for 3 years. Okay, even as inflation has spiked, workers and union officials said. Okay, what do y'all feel? How do y'all feel about that? Let's see. Okay, in total, okay, I'm just kind of skipping down. It says in total, 4 workers described talking to their doctors about similar issues. Oh, okay, let me go up. I need to say this. Several workers, the article says, interviewed say the conditions are taking a toll on their health. A locomotive engineer at BNSF in Nebraska said his doctor had warned him recently that his health problems from working a round the clock schedule were mounting. Okay, he advised the engineer to take medical leave, find a new job, or expect his problems with drinking, weight gain, and sleeplessness to get worse. Okay, in total, 4 workers described talking to their doctors about similar issues. One worker said the divorce he was in the middle of was due in part to stress from the industry's scheduling. Okay. He was quoted saying they're asking everybody to do more with less, said the engineer in Nebraska, who asked that his name be withheld. Again, they don't want to be identified. They want to remain anonymous. The engineer said he was penalized on the company's point system after missing work to deal with a busted water heater this year, pushing him further down the path to potential discipline. Okay. BNSF had this to say in a statement, and they said that it was BNSF said in a statement that it was unable to comment on individual employees' cases, but that it was, and I quote, committed to working with employees in cases of extenuating circumstances. Okay, so that's what they had to say. Now, freight rail jobs are a vestige of the unionized middle class and historically have been one of the top industries, the article says, by pay for workers without a college degree. A high percentage of the workforce is male, and it also draws heavily from former members of the military. Okay. All right. So again, this information comes from NBC News, and I'm asking the question, could a rail strike be coming? Again, if this is something that were to happen, we're going to feel it as consumers, you and I, because again, we rely heavily on the rail system. Okay, the rail system plays a big part in our transportation shipping industry to help keep our supply chain moving. And if negotiations are to follow through, if the White House intervention in some form or fashion does not prove to be successful, or if it doesn't succeed, then again, there could be some dire consequences coming down the line. But again, I don't want to cause any fear in you. I'm just making you aware of, hey, this is what's going on. Let's pay attention to it. Let's see what becomes of it. But again, I want to let you know so that you can take whatever necessary steps to prepare, and so that you and your family can have what you need. Am I telling you to go out and buy everything you can now? Not necessarily. Do what you can. Do what you feel like is best for you and your family. That's what I can say about that. But I definitely want to encourage you to do your research. Uh, Thank you for supporting the channel, but I want you to do your research as well, see what's going on. And if you are able to get things that you need, um, you know, talk with your family, your spouse, your loved one, make a plan so that you, no matter what happens, if they were to shut down everything tomorrow, that you and your family would have the things that you feel like are essential for you and your household. So again, I want to say thank you all so much for your support. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out the many videos that I have right here on the channel, and leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Hit all notifications. That way, whenever I do go live or upload new content, you will be one of the first to know. Okay? All right. Y'all take care. Thank you so much again. And I'll see you soon right back here on Andrea Speaks TV.